Hello everyone, it's Brandy from Little Britches. This is seller newsletter number 2 for our spring 2022 sale, okay? So this newsletter is going to go over some different thoughts about getting your items prepared to sell, get them more likely to sell, that kind of stuff. So here I can tell you everyone has different experiences. If you are not already in the seller Facebook group, I would encourage considering to join that. You can get lots of tips and tricks in that group. I can tell you what I know as a seller and as the person that owns a sale, but we have some other really fantastic sellers who have shared some really great tips and tricks. So I would encourage you to learn what they've already figured out. Okay. So first, the number one, if there's one thing I can tell you to invest your time in when prepping your items, it is to make sure that they are clean. So keep in mind if it is clothing item with a stain on it, we do not accept it. It will get pulled from the floor. So just don't bring those if they have a stain on them. But if it is stained, you'd be surprised if you just do some Googling. I've also provided a link in the newsletter. There's a lot of stains that you can get out fairly easily if you put a little bit of energy into it. Take the time, get those stains out of those items so that you can sell them. For other items, make sure that they're clean, really wipe down, get into the nooks and crannies and the grooves, particularly if it's been stored for a while, like in the garage or outside or something like that. Give it a good wipe down, hose down, whatever's appropriate to make sure that it's clean and ready to go. If we do have to clean your items on the floor, we may charge a cleaning fee, so keep that in mind. But just make sure you bring your items clean. It's so much more likely, people are gonna be really hesitant to buy something even if they know that they can clean it, because it's hard for them to imagine putting their sweet child in an item that's maybe not very clean. So if you take the time to clean it, it's really gonna pay off. Little things to watch for is like in the little nooks and crannies of high chairs, in the space behind a high chair, a lot of times that gets missed. Make sure you watch on the bottoms of like extra saucers, things like that. My cat is rubbing on the tripod. Wow. Okay. Real moment. Anyways. Let's see, train of thought. Okay. So make sure you wipe things down, clean them off. Books, make sure that you give them a good wipe down if they've been stored for a while, things like that. Okay. Toys get into those nooks and crannies. If your item is an electric item that requires a battery, make sure that you do put a battery in it. People are not going to purchase items that they don't know are working. So if you put a battery in it, even if it's just a cheap one from the dollar store, it's going to be much more likely to sell. So just take into account the cost of the battery when you price your item. Okay, also speaking of pricing, we get a lot of questions about pricing. And I always kind of say the best thing about our sale is that you can choose how to price your items. And kind of the hardest part about selling with us is that you can choose how to price your items. So I know it can feel really overwhelming, especially if you are brand new to our sale. I have provided a guide in there that will give you kind of a starting off point. So keep in mind that people come to our sale looking for a deal, okay? So keep that in mind as you're pricing your items. You're gonna wanna try to price competitively, especially if you really do not want to see those items again, okay? So really think about that. Think about what you would consider paying for that item in used condition. If it's something that's really in great shape, you can maybe, get a little bit more out of it. If it's something that is still very usable, but, is clearly used, it might be a much cheaper item. Okay. So think about things like that. Kind of on that note, I know a lot of times, I know I've experienced this where I have an item that, it's got a lot of memories for me. And so pricing it very low is really hard. But keep in mind that people aren't aware of those memories, so try to really think about what you would be willing to pay for that item, just thinking about it as an item. Okay. And now I actually had a seller ask me a few weeks ago, can I print off a stock photo of the item to stick on my item because it's not clear just looking at the packaging what it is? The answer is, oh my goodness, yes. Okay, this is an awesome trick. If you have any item that it is not clear what it is, or something like bedding where it's hard to tell the design and all that kind of stuff, absolutely a stock photo, especially a color stock photo if it's an option, and sticking that on your item is going to super increase the sellability of that item, because the buyer's going to know what it is. It's going to catch their eye. They're going to see what it is that they're buying. You also might consider including instructions, things like that, anything that you have for it. Absolutely encourage that. Okay. Also, just keep in mind there are some categories that are just tough sells. We get a ton of clothing, so keep in mind that you have a lot of competition when you're bringing in clothing. Okay, just keep in mind that we have a ton of items out there, you know, and if you want your items to sell, you got to price them competitively. Okay, appointments. So you absolutely must have a drop-off appointment. Okay, so make sure that you can do that in your consignor workstation. I would encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. Keep in mind when you're making your drop-off appointments that you will be dropping off your items and bringing them into the armory and putting them away. It's very organized, so it's not hard, I promise. But just keep that in mind when you're selecting your drop-off appointment. We do offer a drop and run option that you can find more about on our website, but most people find that it's not a big deal just to put their items away. So allow time for that. Okay, so you sign up for like a 15-minute time frame, and that's pretty much when you're unloading. So just kind of something to keep in mind. If you are planning on picking up any item, so unless you are donating absolutely everything that does not sell, you will need a pickup appointment for Sunday afternoon. Okay, this is super important so that we can spread people out, give everybody the best service we can. So yes, make sure that you snag one of those pickup appointments, even if you are only planning on picking up 1 or 2 items. Okay, so real quick, donation. I just mentioned donation. We have a lot of people ask about this, which is a really good question. So one of the options we provide our sellers is that if you have an item that you do not want to get back after the sale, you can mark it for donation. And that means that it's going to go onto the sales floor exactly like every other item. It's going to go through the half price sale, all that good stuff. Once the sale is completely wrapped up, then it's going to be pulled for donation if you've marked it for donation. Okay, what does donation mean? So it's kind of a multi-step process, and we're really proud of this. It's kind of a cool thing that we are able to do to work with some community partners on. So the first thing we do is we have an after sale donation party. And how that works is we set everything up that's been marked for donation. And then we will send out invites to different community organizations that work with families in need. And they will distribute those invitations to those families, and then those families can come shop for their families, for free. And so it's a really great way that we're able to allow families in our community who are in need to come get items that their family is needing. If the item is still left over after the donation party, Judy from Toys for Manhattan comes and picks everything else up because she's amazing. And she will keep a lot of the items for Toys for Manhattan, which is an organization local to Manhattan that distributes toys and clothing and that kind of stuff to local families during the holidays so that they have something for their children. If it's an item that's not a good fit for her organization, she distributes it to other places like Ogden Friendship House, Fit Closet. I know there's several others. She's also a big believer in keeping things local, just like we are. So rest assured, donation items, they benefit local organizations, local families. Okay, that's really, really important to us. If you have any questions about that, of course, please ask. We love it when stuff is marked for donations. So if I can answer any questions about that, I would love to. Okay, I think that's everything I have for this week. So make sure the seller newsletter is in your email on Wednesday so that you can check that out. Of course, if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.